Hi everyone, I'm Damon from Bloomington Tutors, and in this video I'll be sharing my way of remembering the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 error. Here's a table you've probably seen before, but if not, you should pause the video and read over it. Basically, whenever we perform a statistical test, there are two possible universes we could be working in. The first is where there is a significant difference in whatever quantity we're measuring, and in this case we should reject the null. We might correctly reject it, or we might make a type 2 error, in which case we failed to reject it, when we should have. The other possible universe is that there is no significant difference between the quantity that we're measuring, so we should fail to reject the null. We might make a type 1 error if we do reject it, or we might fail to reject it, in which case we've made the correct decision. The question is, how do you remember which is which? What's a type 1 and what's a type 2 error? They seem to be arbitrarily defined. You should not memorize them based on their locations on this table because the orders of the rows and columns might switch. So you really need to know them based on their definitions. And here's how I remember it. Type 1 errors are something type A people might do, whereas type 2 errors are something type B people might do. If you don't know already, type A people are proactive and on the ball, but on the negative end of their personality, they might jump the gun or be too eager or rash. A mistake that they might make is falsely accusing someone or making a premature announcement. Type B people, on the other hand, are chill and laid back, but their negative personality is that they're lazy, inactive, or oblivious. And so the mistake that they might be inclined to make is failing to take action on an important issue. So you can see now that type 1 errors are something type A people might do, right? For example, they might excitedly claim that a drug that they've been working on lowers cancer risk, but in fact it doesn't, that there's no difference between the group that has been taking the drug and the group that hasn't. In this case, they've jumped the gun and they've made a type 1 error. On the other hand, type B people usually make type 2 errors. They might be working on this drug and say that it doesn't really do anything, it has no effect, when in fact the group that has been taking the drug does have a significantly less risk of cancer. And in this case, they failed to take action, they failed to recognize the significant and important difference, right? So this is especially helpful when we also take into account alpha and beta. Alpha is the probability of making a type 1 error given that your null is true, and beta is the probability of a type 2 error given a null is false. So type 1 error, type A person, and alpha all relate to one another, and they're all the first entries in whatever alphabet or number list that they belong to, right? And type 2, type B, and beta all relate to one another as well, and they're all the second entries in whatever list they belong to. So hopefully you found this helpful in knowing the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 error. Basically, you need to think about, in English, what kind of mistake is being made, whether you're raising a false alarm or if you're missing an opportunity, and then think about the personality type.